Honor roll student there as well. Graduated in 2011, played in 42 games for the Tigers, and got into our business and does a great job. He serves as the host of Off the Bench on ESPN 104.5 FM in Baton Rouge. Great station to go on there all the time. Tigers 9-0, 5-0 in the SEC, #1 in the nation across all polls. And of course, they'll announce the standings later tonight for the playoffs, and they'll be #1 there too. Of course, the Tigers renew acquaintances with Ole Miss on Saturday, so Chuck and T-Bob are finding it out here on stage about that one. Please give a warm welcome to T-Bob Hebert. T-Bob.
What is up? What's up, y'all? I was going to take off my coat, but I got cold, so I'm not going to. How about it, though? How's everyone feeling? Oh, I feel incredible. I'm still riding high after Saturday. I don't know about y'all. The air smells a little sweeter. I got a little spring in my step. I got Alabama tears that I'm showering in every single morning, and it feels so damn good. I don't know if I have experienced a win that I was not a part of that feels like I felt on Saturday. As a spectator, that just drove home what, to me, makes sports so unbelievable, right? I'm out there, we got the neighbors, we're in the yard, kids are running around. We had like 300 purple and gold Jello shots for every time there were turnovers or scores. And then we ran out. That's how good the offense is. We ran out of Jello shots. But just the emotional ride that Saturday was, the highs, the lows, the happiness, the frustrations, the anger, and then the payoff. It was 4 hours of something that I will never forget. And it's hard. I've tried a lot, and everybody in the room, or at least a lot of people in this room, if you're an LSU fan, you're going to get it. But I've tried very hard to translate or get people to understand outside of Louisiana what that win felt like. And I just don't know that I can do it, because unless you understand the context of that series, unless you understand what happened in 2011 in the subsequent years after the gap, getting close in 12, getting close in 14, but then watching that gap grow and then losing 29-0 at home, it looked like you were light years away. So to be here a year later and to beat them in Tuscaloosa, not just beat them, but beat them convincingly. Yes, that game ends by 1 score, but LSU led wire to wire. When you look at how Alabama scored, they had a punt return for a touchdown in which, if he doesn't get the face mask actually threw him into the score. You have the kind of gimmicky look over, a good play, but a trick play. The fake look over where they beat Stingley. And then the touchdown at the end is just inexcusable. You can't give up a bomb when that's literally the only thing you cannot do. But that said, those were more low percentage scores. What I witnessed out of LSU were consistent, sustained drives. Make no mistake. Look, I was on that team in 2011, the team that beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa and then lost the national championship. The game in Tuscaloosa, it was a fluky win, right? They missed 5 field goals in a 9-6 game. They outplayed us. We got the win. That was not the case Saturday. LSU clearly outplayed Alabama. It was a hell of a game, and now LSU has everything that they want to accomplish in front of them. And for me personally, the word I keep going back to is cathartic. That was a win that I think can finally allow the LSU psyche to heal a little bit. You needed to beat Nick Saban again before this Alabama run ended, and it's even better that you beat him in Tuscaloosa. And so it kind of feels like the dragon has been slain. You have an LSU program with just a massive amount of positive momentum on the recruiting trail, on the field. You look like that could only increase, and you have a damn good team, and who knows how far this team could go. This team has national championship written all over, and it's going to be tough, right? You got more tough games coming up. I want to throw Ole Miss into that category. No offense to any Ole Miss fans, but I actually want to throw A&M or Arkansas into that necessarily, but you still got Georgia. in an SEC championship. And then, should you win, you will make your first ever playoff. And that'll just be a lot of fun to see where they go from there. But the reason why they have a chance to win a championship this year, you kind of have a bit of an aligning of the stars situation. The Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost of the LSU football program, if you will. The Son would be Joe Burrow, right? He is your Messiah-like figure. This is a cat who, so he had what are the two most important quarterback traits: accuracy and decision making. He has those in spades. Where he goes to the next level is the intangibles. He's tough as nails. He's got natural leadership. Like, he's the classic foxhole guy. Guys want to follow him. So you combine that, well, why didn't he look this good last year? Well, he was missing the scheme. And make no mistake, this scheme is putting every LSU offensive football player in better positions to succeed than they have been in the better part of a decade. So then, what did he mean? What was he missing? He was missing the scheme. Well, that's Joe Brady. You could almost call him the father in a way. He's young, 30 years old, but he's trained under Sean Payton. He brings over this cutting-edge offensive scheme. He understands the spread because he was raised in the spread, right? But then what's the one thing that Joe Brady's missing? He's never called plays. He doesn't have that experience. Well, now you have Steve Ensminger, who has decades of play calling experience. But what's the one thing that he doesn't have, crucially? He has no ego. And that means that he's willing to learn and he's willing to collaborate. And as I'm sure some of these coaches could tell you, to find a football coach without ego is unbelievably rare. And so now you have this triumvirate that have combined. It's like a great band or something where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, and the results speak for themselves. I mean, what Burrow's doing is unbelievable. If they win out the regular season, he will win the Heisman Trophy winner. You're looking at your second Heisman Trophy winner potentially in LSU football history. Maybe championships are back. And then certainly Ed Orgeron deserves a ton of credit for being the architect behind all of this. He is a man who obviously was doubted. It's a fascinating story. It's a fascinating story about second chances, re-looking at coaching hires and the parameters in which we judge coaching hires by, because on paper there was not a lot to suggest that he would have been a good hire. Maybe this is the exception, not the rule, but it doesn't matter. Either way, there is no doubt that this program was already trending in the right direction, but it's been hyper-accelerated now with this win. I mean, if you saw after the game, you had Marcel Brooks, Grant Delpit, and other players go over to the recruiting section in Tuscaloosa, in Bryant-Denny, where all the five-star recruits that they're trying to impress sit. The players ran over there and basically told them after the game, why would you go to Alabama? Come here, we just beat their ass. And that's, if you heard Coach Joe's message after the game, which admittedly, right, nobody wants to, nobody wants, well, whatever. That shouldn't be live streamed when he's speaking to the team. That should be a locker room moment. But what I want to be clear about is nobody should be upset that that got out. Nobody should be scared that Alabama's going to use that for motivation, of course. Am I allowed to curse on here, Ken? Okay, we're like not live on air. Okay. So he said, guess what? That's kind of how I feel too. And that's how LSU should feel now, because that's no more stepping on eggshells, okay? No more stepping on eggshells. This is where if you want to be the bully, you have to be the bully. And for too long now, LSU has allowed itself to be bullied. And that felt like a statement Saturday night in Tuscaloosa. And as I said, it will just stick with me forever. It was incredible. I feel like the long nightmare is finally over. And it's not that you're not going to lose to Alabama again. You will, but you at least now know that it's going to be competitive again, and that you're going to trade blows, and that it's not just some huge separation point. So any questions? We can chop it up. What you got?
Mike.
Smart man.
You stole my thunder. That was the best recruiting message Coach O did on TV. And you're right about the bully. But also, like the Saints won the Super Bowl, you got to have some luck.
Yes.
And we did. And when does Tua drop a ball going in for a touchdown? Drops it. And also the receiver out of bounds. He comes in and catches the ball. Replay cannot call that flag. The official just missed it. So we had a couple of breaks, but that goes with it. If you're destined, you're destined.
Yeah, look, I think, I don't think any championship team has ever apologized for the breaks that they get along the way, right? So I think that goes hand in hand. If you wanted to go full LSU homer and create like a mental balance sheet in your mind to make you feel better about it, I look at the missed Jamar Chase holding call. That was a definite touchdown. That was taken off the board. If you really wanted to go full homer, you could sit there and talk about, well, you know what, let's not even go down that road. The bottom line is I saw an LSU team that absorbed a lot of punches and it didn't face them. A punt return for a touchdown in that magnitude of game, when the home team returns a punt, you should not lose that game if you're the team that returned the punt. LSU opened the second half with a turnover that turned into an Alabama touchdown. You had a 4th and 1 that you converted that didn't work because you got to delay a game, a crucial mistake. And yet, despite all of this, you carried a 2-score lead throughout the entire game. That, to me, speaks to the clearly better team.
Hey, I've been saying this throughout the year, that this season is looking a lot like y'all's 2011 season.
Yeah.
So
not offensively, but
well,
I guess wins-wise.
Because y'all beat some top 10 teams through that stretch.
Yeah.
And as you point out, they beat Alabama, but at the end of the season, they played them again. So if this happens again, you feel like this team is better prepared than what your 2011 team was?
Without a doubt. And the difference is coaching. And let me be clear, I have no personal issue with Coach Miles or anything. As I get older, even though I did not play in that national championship, I started my entire career, I didn't play. Still don't know why to this day. That frustrated me for a long time. As you get older, I've started to be a lot more thankful, right? Because I loved all my memories at LSU. Miles is the architect of a lot of those. That said, it is also painfully clear that in that national championship, you were outcoached by Miles. I mean, wow, I just stumbled into a pun there. You were outcoached by a very wide margin. And, look, like we practiced 4 different versions of the option while like scrimmaging in full pads for basically 15 days. Nick Saban had a sports psychologist study our team and learn, the psychologist told him that Tyrann Mathieu was the head of the snake, and that if you cut off the head of the snake, the body will follow. And sure enough, if you look at how they attacked Tyrann in that game, it was only against the sideline with bigger receivers, where he was either going to go out of bounds or they were going to get the play. Their game plan was to purposely demean him in front of our eyes to discourage us. And why this is so crazy to me is that I have always been adamant that Tyrann Mathieu is the best college football player that I've ever shared a locker room with. And he was the leader of that team. And so while we're practicing 4 different versions of the option, literally the one play that we had success with in game 1, that's the type of game planning that they're getting into. And then you talk to guys, they knew it was just, so you got your ass kicked as a player-to-player level, and coaching-wise, you got really outcoached. And that's why I feel so much better about this year and this game. And a potential rematch with Alabama, sure, let them come. I mean, I don't think they deserve a rematch, not as things stand now. And I don't know how in God's green earth you could put Alabama in over a 1-loss conference champion. They won't have a good resume. They won't have a good win. They would have failed their only test at home, getting beat pole to pole. And more so than that, like if you don't have to play a conference championship, that is a massive advantage. You get a week off. You're not exposed to the risk of having to play another great team in which could hand you a loss. And so if you are to put Alabama in over 1-loss champions, then what are we doing? Why have conference championships? Why schedule hard teams? Why do any of this? And do we risk going too far into the subjective range? If you're just going to tell me, oh, well, clearly Alabama's one of the top 4 teams in the country. All right, well, that same playoff committee said clearly Minnesota was 17th best Then they were behind multiple 2-loss teams. That clearly Penn State was top 4. Okay, well, what happened in Minnesota, Penn State? So don't give me the eyeball test because I can't trust your eyeballs. They're flawed. So I don't think Alabama deserves another shot. It's like Conor McGregor doesn't get another shot at Khabib. He doesn't deserve one. But if they want to catch these hands again, they can, because that's fine. Because what I witnessed Saturday was an ass whooping, and I'd gladly watch another one.
If LSU runs the table, they'll end up beating 7 top 10 teams.
Wow.
So where's that going to rank in the history of LSU football and then the history of college football? It's great to see.
I mean, you would have to, without knowing off the top of my head, so back in 2011, there was a lot of talk that if we had finished that year undefeated, that it would have been the greatest maybe college football season of all time. And I think you could argue that this season is even better than that one. Now, one thing that we had going for us in 2011 is, if you look at how the team finishes, the West Virginia team we beat ended up winning the Fiesta Bowl. The Oregon team we beat ended up winning the Rose Bowl. So there were some big wins that held their quality. That said, I mean, you add Georgia to this list. Yeah, then like you said, you maybe had like an Ohio State at Clemson. Sure, I think it would easily be the best season in LSU football history. As far as ranks up against college, it would have to be top 5, I would imagine.
How does Lord Ogeron,
Yes, the Swamp King.
How
The Crimson Emperor's in full retreat. He's abdicated the throne.
how does he keep the team from letting down this week?
So that's, and that does, coaches play a key part in that. In my experience, though, when you're talking about getting a team focused after a win, I feel like that's up to your players. That's up to your leadership that you have in that locker room. And Matt Flynn talked about this, and I think he's spot on, where he was saying every champion, he's won national championships, Super Bowl, Matt's won championships on every level. And every championship caliber team that he's been a part of has great player-led leadership. And not just overall, but in every group. You think of like a crime family. So Joe Burrow, he's your main boss, right? Then you got your underboss for the O-lineman, that's Cushenberry. You got your underboss for the linebackers, that's Phillips. And you go on down the list, and every room has a leader. And so when you have great upperclassmen leadership like LSU does, I think that's how you manage to refocus after such a big win. And let me be clear, after spending time around that program yesterday, I think the players have already kind of flushed it. I think 24-hour rule is in full effect. I mean, I'm going to continue to relish in this thing forever. But yeah, I already think that they've moved on, honestly. I mean, you had Rashard Lawrence on the field after the game basically saying, it feels really good, but, these weren't our goals. Our goal was not to just beat Alabama. That was a step along the way. And O has also been, if you look at, since he's been at LSU, regardless of the outcome of the Alabama game, he's been very good at keeping the team engaged. And so I see no reason to fear a letdown over these next 3 weeks.
I was going to wonder what your opinion was of any chance of Michael Divinity coming back.
I don't think so. From what I've heard, like maybe a potential bowl game, but as far as I understand, it just can't happen with the team rules that were violated, and that's unfortunate. But every championship team gets lucky, and every championship team has adversity. And what I always love to say is that what defines you as a person or as a team, whatever you want to say, it's not the adversity you are met with, not like how it actually happens to you, it's how do you respond to that adversity. And what I saw Saturday was a very good response. Andre Anthony stepped up, Marcel Brooks stepped up. Like, make no mistake, Divinity was your, from a pure numbers standpoint, was your most successful pass rusher. So it's a blow, but once again, they've already flushed it, right? I mean, it sucks, but they got to move on, and I think they did a very good job. But we're out of time. Thank you so much for having me out here today. Thank you.